What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to the BS Show. We are inching closer and closer to that middleweight title bout between Israel Adesanya and Paulo Costa. And I know every single time I break down a fight or talk about a fight, I said I can't be more excited, and this is the most excited I've ever been. I'm guilty of that, but I am so excited to see this fight. There is a great storyline behind it. We got guys from different countries. They're undefeated. I mean, this is literally a picture-perfect fight. And to go with all the smack talk between the two, I love a good story, and I love whenever people hate each other and then they meet in the octagon and they settle their differences. So I'm looking forward to it. So remember, keep in mind, September 26th, I believe, is when the fight is going to take place. So please check it out. So let's look at the numbers real quick. We got Israel Adesanya, who is our current champion, and he's actually our betting favorite at a minus 161. He is undefeated at 19-0. He stands 6'4", and he has an 80-inch reach. He's tall, he's long, and he is a sniper. So we look at Paulo Costa. He is our challenger. He is 13-0. He stands 6 foot tall, and he's got a 72-inch reach. So he's given up 4 inches in height, and he's given up 8 inches in reach. So we'll have to see how that plays out for him. It hasn't mattered up to this point because, like I said, he's undefeated. But we got to see how this thing takes place, man. We got 2 undefeated fighters, and they absolutely hate each other. Paulo Costa, I would say, is probably the more aggressive fighter. He goes straight at his opponent and tries to take the fight to him, and he actually lands 8.43 significant strikes per minute. That right there shows how aggressive he is. He does not waste any time. As soon as that bell rings in that octagon, he is going for his opponent. So if we look at Israel Adesanya's notable wins, he kind of came on the scene in the UFC and just absolutely took over. He's got notable wins over Yoel Romero, Robert Whittaker, Kelvin Gastelum, and Anderson Silva. And then Paulo Costa has notable wins over Yoel Romero, Uriah Hall, and Johnny Hendricks. So if you look at those two fighters' previous fights, Adesanya obviously has the more impressive resume with big-time wins over current champion Robert Whittaker, perennial powerhouse, and maybe one of the scariest men alive, Yoel Romero, and Kelvin Gastelum. He is always in the mix for that championship belt. And Anderson Silva, although he is on the back nine of his career, he was probably one of the most dominant fighters the UFC has ever seen. So Israel Adesanya's resume is probably, if you look at just who he's fought, much more notable and credit-worthy than Paulo Costa. But they do have that common opponent in Yoel Romero, and many people thought that Israel Adesanya against Yoel Romero was kind of boring, but that's just because both of those guys are kind of, they wait for the guy to bring it to them, and they're counter strikers, and, then Yoel Romero kind of lulls you to sleep and explodes. So a lot of people thought that Adesanya-Yoel Romero title belt was boring. I loved it. So that common opponent, Paulo Costa went to Yoel Romero, and that's the biggest difference between these two fighters that I wanted to talk about, is Paulo Costa is a freight train, and he wants to get to you, and he wants to knock your head off. Adesanya is more as a sniper. He lets the fight come to him, and he picks you apart from distance because he does have that long reach. He is tall. He's rangy. He's got that great kickboxing. So we really couldn't have a fight that is kind of not more opposite, but where their fighting styles are so much different because Paulo Costa is going to just take the fight to Adesanya, and Adesanya is a great counter striker, so something has got to give here. We don't know what's going to give, but something absolutely has to give. So I'm just super excited to see what Paulo Costa does. He went straight at Yoel Romero. He landed a lot of really big shots and still couldn't put Yoel Romero down. But once again, Yoel Romero is a freak in nature. So I want to see what Adesanya does, and can Adesanya take these shots? Can Adesanya take the head kick or the power shots of Paulo Costa? Because the dude, he looks like a Greek god. He's built like a bodybuilder. He's just massive. So This is a very intriguing fight for me, and there's a lot of bad blood here. They've been talking a lot of smack over social media. Adesanya has been accusing him of being on steroids. Paulo Costa said he's never trained harder. He's going to kill. Yep, that's right. He said he's going to kill Israel Adesanya. So a lot of bad blood here. I'm not going to do a fight pick here. I mean, this is probably about as close as two guys can be. They're both undefeated. They got a common opponent, and they're absolutely studs. So thank you for tuning in, guys, and let me know who you got in the comments below.